A teaser trailer for Toy Story 5 was just released, and it looks like AI. It looks like those weird AI posters that people made. I don't know if their style has become too glossy, sterile, and generic, or if they're actively using this new technology to avoid paying workers and artists. But either way, this is not our focus right now. It has me thinking about the world of Toy Story a bit, and I asked myself a question. In Toy Story, what makes the toys alive? In 2012, the Pixar Theory was released online by John Negroni. He put forth the idea that all of the Pixar movies took place in a single universe. The theory put out the idea that all of the toys are essentially robots, powered by an AI that was originally created by Syndrome from The Incredibles. It's an idea that helped Toy Story fit into the wider Pixar cinematic universe. The toys, the cars, the Wall-E's, Big Bubba, they're all different stages of the evolution of robots in this world. The toys are said to be sentient objects that thrive off of human love, meaning that even within the confines of a museum display case, they will still be nourished. Now I'll be honest, I didn't read the book of the Pixar Theory from 2015. I saw somebody mention that maybe the Monsters, Inc. energy from laughter and screams thing kind of translates into love fueling a robot toy, but let's not get bogged down in the details here. Personally, I don't subscribe to the idea that the toys are robots. You could argue that all of these toys are made after a time where this AI technology has become everywhere, but that seems like a bit of a hand wave to me. The idea is that The Incredibles takes place in the 1950s, and that's about the time that Woody dolls were being manufactured. So within the confines of the theory, you could say, well, Woody has a microchip, or some kind of robotic soul. But what about this rubber squeaky shark? Or that Spork guy, he definitely does not have a microchip. Obviously Sporky is from Toy Story 4, a movie released years after the theory came out, but he's another example of the impracticality of this idea that all of the toys are robotic. Sporky and the other acoustic toys are really the Achilles heel of this theory. Personally, I like the idea that toys throughout human history always had life. Toys, and more specifically dolls, have been around for millennia. I'm referring to a doll as any toy with more animalistic or humanoid traits that a human might project a personality onto. Ball in a cup is a toy, but it's not a doll. Barbie is a doll and a toy. A square is a rectangle. A doll can be made out of anything, like rags or mud or sporks. So my issue with the robot theory is that it's not a very flexible answer. It seems sort of limited. I looked online to see what other theories people had. Here's some other answers that I feel like are actually too organic. Number 1, the bond between a child and toy creates life. It's literally the power of love. But unsold toys are alive, like the buzzes in the boxes. Unless you say the manufacturer has some kind of bond with each toy, it just doesn't seem realistic to me. Stinky Pete is a product of his environment too, neglected and then owned by Al, from Al's Toy Barn. And whatever sick, twisted love Al could give to Stinky Pete, I don't think that's what made Stinky Pete alive. I'd argue he was alive before he met Al because he has memories of being abandoned on a shelf. So this theory doesn't really do it for me. I think the toys are alive before they meet their owners. Number 2, it's all imagination, which I disagree with. I feel like the toys live outside of human perception. I think they're a bit more independent. Number 3, the toys have a soul. Okay, and at what point does an object receive a soul? Is it when it becomes more anthropomorphic, or when it resembles an animal closely enough? When a human decides it has a soul? Can a human give life to something just by looking at it? Humans are good at looking for the humanity in inanimate objects. Is this just a more miraculous step of that concept? In the process of making the toy, when does the plastic inherit life? What about fishing pole sexy legs over here? You're telling me that thing has a soul?
Look at him and tell me there's a god! He made me in his own image.
If a toy can be modified from a Barbie into an abomination, does it retain its soul in its new body? Is it a combination of both of the previous souls? So yeah, the soul argument is a little too loosey-goosey for me, and I want something a bit more concrete. To solve this problem, I need an answer that is as practical and physical as robotics, but also as organic and flexible as the concept of life. It's bugs. My answer is bugs. Or at least some kind of microscopic organism like tardigrades, fungal spores, or bacteria. Imagine the exterior of every toy is covered in a colony consisting of thousands or millions of microscopic organisms, with specialized roles that operate the toy like a puppet because they specifically evolved to do this for their survival. For comparison, consider how a human body is made of a similar structure of cells that each serve their own function, except the organisms in my theory discover the toy and cover it, in a sense colonizing it, unlike humans, which are inseparable from the cells that construct us, as long as we are alive and healthy. You could think of these organisms like ants finding a new colony, or a hermit crab finding a new shell. These creatures would be like an invisible exoskeleton, forming muscles, eyes, ears, vocal cords, and even a mind. They would be a hive mind of bugs slowly evolving to become more intelligent with each passing generation, and with each new experience that the collection is confronted with, which, to the audience, would appear as character growth. The toys don't realize that they are alive because of millions of mites that form their existence, similar to how humans didn't know that they were made of cells. This theory preserves the biological immortality of the toys, because as long as the bugs are reproducing and obtaining new resources, they could go on forever. It's like an ant colony that doesn't go away. Now, if you're some kind of pervert who insists that this theory has to tie in with the Pixar Theory, you could just say that these creatures are hyper-intelligent animals, similar to the fish, rats, and other things that we've seen throughout this universe. Here's some questions that I think I would be asked by people if they cared about the thing I was saying. I will answer them for you. Why would the bugs target toys as a host body? Well, let's consider this occurring in the ancient past. These bug colonies could have taken over the corpses of small animals, or maybe really big ones, that'd be cool, forming essentially zombies or, some kind of cryptid. They could use the physics of a rotting animal for some kind of locomotion. If it helps, you can compare this to the fungal ant spore mind thing. Now, proximity to early humans could guarantee a level of protection from predators, which is why cats evolved to like us. Being nearby to humans would also guarantee more resources, since humans hunt larger game, grow more food, and poop frequently. I would assume these bugs are bottom feeders. I don't know if they would eat dust or meat or poop or maybe all three. Ancient humans would be wary of letting the living corpse of a small animal live near them. So I think some bug colonies would evolve to instead use the anthropomorphic structures of ancient human dolls to guarantee proximity to human resources while also not being attacked on sight. Why would the toys not want the humans to know that they're alive and capable of speech and thoughts? If you saw a living toy walking towards you and talking to you, would you not immediately destroy it and condemn it as an agent of Satan? Haven't you read The Crucible? Humans don't even trust inanimate dolls. I theorize that there were probably ancient living toys that attempted to interact with humans once they developed more sentience and personality. The humans didn't trust them and decided to destroy them. Not only could these toys not pass down their genetics or ideas to future generations of Hivemind bugs, but their counterparts would witness this action and log it into their own lineages. This would explain why even new toys have an instinct to not reveal their existence to humans. It could be a freeze reaction for some, like a possum, but I think that more experienced and older toys have outgrown that instinct and can control it. They can be more intentional with how they interact with and around humans, and they can make an active choice to reveal themselves. Eventually, the notion of revealing yourself to a human becomes a part of toy culture.
Andy's coming! No, didn't do it.
Do the toys feel pain? Yeah, maybe. Obviously, they can be destroyed.
Children, destroy toys!
And there's many scenes of them fighting each other and seemingly reacting as if they're in pain. Are they actually receiving damage to their structure? I think it's possible. Otherwise, it could be a trick of the mind with the intention of preserving the structural integrity of the toy that they occupy. What I mean is that if Woody's arm is ripped off, it may not destroy any of the actual bugs that make up his anatomy, but there is a panic response that's triggered within his mind that's meant to safeguard the structure so that he can continue living. How do the toys get their default personalities? Why do the sheep act like sheep, but the shark doesn't act like a shark? Why does Buzz think he's not a toy? It could be environmental pressures. The toys could be influenced by their creators or the imagery surrounding them which inspires them to act a certain way. Remember, the living toys don't realize that they are a hive mind colony. For all intents and purposes, each toy wakes up and is just some guy. Maybe the sheep heard their initial creator talking about sheep and making sheep sounds, so now they act like sheep. Maybe as Buzz was waiting to be sold, he pressed the buttons on his chest. He heard his own catchphrases from his soundbox and crafted his backstory and personality around those. They're still products of their environment. How do the toys know English? Products of their environment. Can the toys die? Yes. How do they get food and expel waste? Well, we never see them eat. There could be scout bugs that the main structure is just unaware of, and these bugs go out and collect detritus to bring back to the host body, similar to how we breathe in our sleep without doing it consciously. Or maybe their skin just filters dust and particles out of the air. Why would a factory reset button affect Buzz Lightyear? One reason could be that the specific bugs operating a Buzz Lightyear toy evolved to be more ingrained in the computer and wiring of that toy. Once they detect the reset, they act accordingly, possibly because they're actually experiencing a change, possibly to be seen as a more convincing toy to a potential human, or possibly because the body thinks it's being reset when really nothing happens. It could be a trauma response. The conscious mind is a strange and delicate thing. This could be the case here. Then why does Buzz start speaking Spanish? We can imagine that some bugs that operate simple acoustic toys like a stuffed bear have evolved to make their own noises, while others which occupy a more advanced and electronic toy would save their energy and instead utilize and manipulate already available audio boxes. Buzz starts speaking Spanish after his reset, so we can assume the bugs are just using that currently available speech option. Why does Buzz start acting differently in addition to speaking Spanish? It could be that the bugs have subconsciously embraced the reset option as well. What about Forky? It's the first time we've seen a toy be made and come to life in one of these movies, but I don't think his motivations when he's first born are inconsistent with what we've seen. Compare him to Buzz when he first gets to Andy's room. Neither one realizes that they're a toy, and they have their own initial purposes. Forky is insistent on throwing himself out. I don't read this as a lack of self-preservation, more so just a way of life he wants to embrace. From a survival angle, he might want to find resources in that garbage for his survival. What about the seemingly immobile toys? In the first Toy Story movie, we see a Mr. Spell, an Etch-a-Sketch, and a Farmer Says toy. The first thing to address is the question of why these forms would be chosen by these colonies to optimize their survival. It's probably because they have good communication skills. It would save a new colony the energy needed to form vocal cords, which at the very least could help them be functioning members of a toy society. Now, how are they moving if they don't have the opposable features of, say, a Buzz Lightyear toy? You could say that there's some bugs in this colony that have specialized to exert some form of pressure in order to propel the structure forward. Maybe they push air, or they form a series of spring-like mechanisms to push themselves away from the ground. I wouldn't consider these things dolls, but they do have a more socially interactive element to them, compared to things like a ball or a baseball bat. I guess there has to be a line drawn between what's practical for a colony's survival in a toy community, and these toys fall on the positive side of that because of their ability to communicate. This is a side note, I feel like I didn't address this earlier. Obviously, most toys don't have opposable eyelids and movable mouths, and you could argue that the bugs that take over these structures are rearranging the pieces of the structure, morphing the plastic or the porcelain, and making these elements a bit more bendable, mimicking the way that humans talk and move their mouths. This could be something that they learned and maybe adopted for the sake of engaging in toy society. Maybe just having a moving mouth increases the range of things that they can say. If it's purely aesthetic, it could be for the sake of communicating better in toy society. It helps to know when someone's talking to you by also seeing their mouth move. And not all toys have moving mouths in this world. Some could be relying solely on audio boxes. What about modified toys? Do their personalities transfer to their new bodies? Maybe the hybrid toys we see in Sid's room retain some neural capabilities, or parts of the personalities from their previous forms, and maybe they have developed new methods of existing in their new forms. The pterodactyl could maintain its personality if its head is switched to a new body, and therefore a new set of bodily organisms. If you take the organism-controlled legs from a doll and put them on a presumably inactive fishing pole toy, they could adapt to make the fishing pole an active body part. If there are no bugs of consciousness and neurological capability present on that structure, maybe new ones could form to at least interact with their community and receive information, such as plans to mess with Sid, even if they can't actively speak or look at people. Basically, this toy would have the personality of a pair of sexy legs that became independent and are able to hear people and contribute to their community. Additionally, by the logic I've proposed, a severed arm should still be able to move independently of the body of a doll. Why doesn't Woody's arm still move? Maybe the organisms on it are in shock, or are unable to move without the mental direction offered by the body with the head. This is all assuming that the head of these toys contains the neurological function, the same way people do. Or it could be different with each one. Maybe every part of it contains a piece of a brain, the way an octopus has. The organisms of each toy can be different, so maybe the organisms that control the limbs of a Woody doll have become solely reliant on the conscious cells of his mind to instruct their function. Given time, maybe they would move on their own, just like the sexy legs. Do I really think that my theory was the original intention of these artists? No, not at all. We're just having fun here. In all likelihood, it's probably the magic toy love theory. It's just the easiest answer. In researching this video, I found myself groaning at the sheer amount of Disney and Pixar Theory videos, with dramatic, flashy thumbnails and borderline ominous phrasing in their titles. As I'm looking at them with an older pair of eyes, I feel there's something so cringeworthy about them. They're framed with the same unironically serious energy as can be found in alien and paranormal conspiracy theories, which were also very popular in the 2010s YouTube era. The Disney Theory videos tied in with this cultural movement, where every movie had to be part of a bigger picture, coinciding with the rise of cinematic universes like Marvel. Easter eggs in movies are fun additions from the creative teams, and sometimes they hint at future projects, but I think a lot of the time they're just one-off references, and people have a habit of assigning meaning to things that just aren't there. But not me. My theory's just bugs. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, it's been a while since I've been uploading. I've been getting the drive to make video projects again, and I'd like to do some more media discussions, theory videos, and even just share some of my writing too. If that sounds like fun, you should stick around. If you have any thoughts about this theory, or any other topics I should cover in the future, please leave a comment below. And until next time, stay groovy.